Attention students, the Jabroni University Network is now in session. Please make your way to class.
Rat chaser. Rat chaser. Rat chaser. Rat chaser. Rat chaser.
Coming to you from fabulous Studio B+ in Bradenton, Florida, it's the Chaser Brothers podcast with me, the son of Rat Chaser, and the man of the hour who reads Nintendo Power, the Bionic Commando in Orlando, the gamer who should come with a disclaimer.
Rat chaser.
Well, hello, all you beautiful rad chasing socialites. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be speaking to you in a fine Kentucky accent. And by fine, I mean deplorable.
Oh, and
it's a
scorch indeed.
We're going to be talking about retro video games, and their application in our real-world scenarios. Sorry, I had a little lump in my throat there.
From the fine state of Maine.
Handing out justice, video game style. Ooh, what's cracking, everybody? How's the life? It's been a long 7 days since we've seen you. Well, is it 6 days or 7 days?
It has been a long week.
A week is 7 days.
I don't know why. Perhaps it's the fact that I lost all of those lots immediately, right after the podcast one, and it's just like, and it was so it sucked because they were all spaced out over 2 minutes, so it was like, oh man, oh come on, how did I not win that last one?
So you lost all your eBay lots bidding on Nintendo Powers.
Yeah, those lots of 10. There was 4 of them. I got burned on every single one. So
that sucks to suck. So you're what? You're back down to 0 then. Your net Nintendo Power is at 0, as far as I know, unless anything's changed.
Well,
has anything changed? Chaser?
As we said, it's been a long week, and yeah. So I was missing one random issue out of the very recent crop that I've been working on. So I found a copy of that, and so we're up to 1, which is good.
Ooh.
Which is good.
1? I was hoping you'd have none.
And then I sort of got the dopamine hit off of that one buy, and I was like, maybe I'm just gonna make a bunch of little buys right now.
Here we go.
And so there was this one that I was watching that, and also boom, right down the ADHD rabbit hole. I started buying things that weren't. I started a side quest, is what happened.
Oh. This is news. You didn't tell me about a side quest. Go on.
So the side quest, I thought, I go, you know what? If I'm gonna buy all these Nintendo Powers, and I'm gonna eventually run out of them, and this is me putting the cart way before the horse.
I'm gonna need something else to read after those.
Right.
Here we go.
So I go, maybe I should also buy every official Nintendo Power player's guide that's really released as well. And so I found this lot that had these two. It was like there was a 2-part Super Mario Brothers 2 player's guide thing that I've never seen before, but it says official, so I'm like, well, okay. So there was a lot with those 2 things and the official player's guide for Final Fantasy.
Nice one, bro.
So I picked that up as well. So that that got the juices going a little more. And then what I ended up doing is I sort of eschewed chasing on a budget for economical chasing, which is it's bang for your buck chasing, but I did have to spend I blew about 3 months worth of budget in one go.
Ooh, okay. That's fine. Listen,
Go on.
I understand the plight of going on eBay and you get that little hit of, ooh, I'm on a bid. Okay, I like this thing. I'm picturing it in my mind. I'm picturing it in the stack in the house, how it would look, how it would feel, how it would taste.
Tastes like paper.
Tastes like paper, delicious. And you say to yourself, you start getting comfortable with the idea of having the thing. Then you're bidding on it. No one's bid on it. You're like, okay. And then the last day, maybe something goes up. Somebody throws in a bid. You're like, oh, whatever, it's fine. And sort of last few hours start getting down to the wire, and it's like, this is when the party starts, and this is when you got to kind of be diligent. You can't just be like, oh, good, my bid's good. It's been good for a few days. We're fine. You can't do that. This at the end is where men are made, and where bids are made.
Heard.
So you'll see these things shoot up a little bit. If it's a hot item, you might get lucky and get something that's slips under the radar. But for the most part, you kind of got to pay a little attention at the end there. So, like you were saying, you got sniped on those 4 orders in rapid succession. Much to your dismay. So
yes. So a lot of 50 issues popped up. And there was a starting bid of $250, which is fine. So I put in a bid, and I was the only one to bid on it. However, when it got to 0 hour, I upped my maximum bid to $300, just to be safe.
there you go.
Which was unnecessary. So it kind of tells me that people are, they're really, who are trying to get these lots, they're really trying to, again, get bang for their buck, but they're also chasing economically. So that was the thing. So all said and done with tax and delivery, I got 50 magazines. It comes out to $6 a magazine. A little less than $6 because it was about $300.
That's great. Listen, that is great because when you look at it like that, you say, okay, getting these magazines a la carte is gonna, be $10, $15, upwards of whatever. So $10 if you're lucky. It also depends when they're from. That one stray issue that I got that was in the more modern era of games. I paid $5 for it, but you got to ship, so it's like you get pounded on these shipping things. So I did end up spending $10 on it. Sure. So because I know some NES games are like the later ones that came out, say after the Super Nintendo came out, they seem to be more expensive. Now, are you saying that Nintendo Powers, the later issues, are cheaper than say the older ones? What's your estimation?
It seems like if I'm looking for late stage Nintendo Powers, they're a little easier to come by.
Late stage. Stage 4 Nintendo Power. There's no cure for the subscription.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Sorry. Had a little lump in my throat there again. Don't worry, it was benign. It's a benign lump.
Yeah. But with what I did get, there's there's not like a solid block of these issues, but they do seem to span Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64. Looking at what I see here, I'm seeing only about 4, maybe 5 issues that I already have, and this is gonna go into my next thing, which is I assumed that this was going to happen, so I'm going to have to buy these things and then sell them back out.
You've gotten some doubles, is what you're saying,
right? And this is fine because it will bring more money back in. And speaking to that, I made a decision recently. I have a short box that's full of comic books, and the comic books don't really bring me any joy. I had them from when I was into them, and now it's I'm just not into it anymore.
Yeah, so you're gonna throw them out in the trash, right? Trash.
No. I will put these things up on eBay. I'll do them in lots because it seems that's the way to move things. It also seems that if you're going to sell stuff, let people have a bid for it. Because if you put it at a price that's too good to be true, then people are, they're obviously going to put bids on them. But when I was buying comics, I had a couple of different runs of comics that I was like, all right, I'm buying these comics. Like, these are the ones that I'm buying.
Yeah.
So I do have. I'm pretty sure I have a run of the. Are you familiar with The Boys? You know that show? Hit show on Amazon. Was also a comic.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
Oh, buddy, you'd like that show. It
did come really close the other night. I was on Amazon Video and I saw it, and I did. You know what I did? I'll tell you what I did. I clicked on it, so it started. So it's in my queue. It's in my thing. So we're one step closer.
I'm glad for you. It stars Carl Urban, who's excellent in everything he does, and it's just him with a Cockney accent.
Sure. Okay. saying funny stuff.
Yeah, calling people. It's okay. I can bleep it out. It's bleeped out. But yeah, and he uses that word flippantly, so it's fun to watch.
Well, that's I think, if I'm not mistaken, that word is not so offensive to them. So that's like us saying, "Hey, you're a doofus." Yeah,
pretty much. So, but it's just it's fun. There is a spin-off of that comic called, it's not a spin-off, but it was sort of like a side story to that comic called Herogasm, and I have a run of those, so those I can make a little bit of change off of that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I just had a couple other runs of things that I don't know. They may or may not generate some money, but I will put them up for bid. The important thing is that they'll bring in something, they'll be gone, and then I can
fill that empty void with new stuff.
Precisely. As far as things that I'm thinking of that I might have that I can let go, I had that first issue of that Coheed and Cambria comic. I mean, not the one that they handed at a Warped Tour, but I have the second print run of it, and that could get me something maybe, and
yeah.
And I have that 3-shot Batman Cacophony that Kevin Smith wrote, so that's I could maybe get something for those 3 too. And
Okay, good. Listen, the important part is, we're taking stuff and we're turning it into new stuff. I've been doing the same thing over here. I've been listing vinyl records. Okay, I've got boxes of them that I've gotten from,
I got boxes of
getting rid
Pepe.
all you can eat. I've been getting rid of them, but I just have so many that I haven't listed, and I sort of fell off. So there's boxes of, I guess we could say money sitting around. Now, these are all, 45s. If you're not familiar with those are the smaller looking records, kids, that spin faster.
7 inches, as they're known colloquially.
Yep. They haven't seen as much of a resurgence as the 12-inch records. So, they haven't rotted the brains of the kids yet these days. But, smaller records. Selling those. What else have I gotten rid of? Just random bibs and bobs. But, I've recycled that money into adding 100 NES games to the stack. I think I mentioned that I have met my quota for January. It's now February 3rd. Happy Groundhog Day, belated, by the way. So that's nice. I think there's 6 more weeks of winter.
This city is shrouded in fog, so we're for sure getting more winter.
Oh, it was nice this morning. I got some nice... I randomly woke up and it was thick. That fog was thick with 2 C's. So naturally, I had to get up and get some B-roll shots of that. So there's got some of that fog rolling in. What else? NES games. So I met my quota. I'm working into my February quota as well. So there's games. Games are coming. I feel like I'm getting in the groove of looking at the sites, trying to find the deals as a blue collar chaser myself, and probably many of you out there. We emphasize, we're trying to be on a budget. We're trying to get the best bang for our buck, be economical about it, and you sacrifice time and energy for the money. If you have all the money in the world, if you have the infinite money hack from SimCity, you can get whatever you want as fast as you want. However, if you don't, you got to put more time into it. You got to troll through the site. You got to catch people slipping on their deals, and you got to capitalize on it. So a little bit more of an investment there.
You gotta find grandmas who are selling their kids video games while they're off at college.
Right, and have no moral compass, and don't say stuff like, this is worth a bunch more, let me give you more. People hate that, though. There's people who hate that. Just because grandma didn't do her due diligence doesn't mean you can't, and you don't, and you need to give her more money. But grandma's happy to see it go. Grandma's happy to see her grandson's PlayStation stuff from his youth that he may or may not know is go. So do.
Yeah, he also might have been like, nah, it's fine, you can get rid of it. That's that's some video games are a phase for some people.
Absolutely. And we're in a phase where we like them, and we're going to get them at the right price.
It's integrally woven into the fabric of our lives. So this
it's what?
Integrally.
Okay.
Woven. Loaf.
Integrally.
It's woven into our life in an integral fashion.
Heard.
So yeah, for us it's not a phase. Hey, for you listener, it doesn't have to be a phase either. Don't let people go, that stuff is for kids to you. Don't let them go don't let people go, hey, be a man, get rid of your video games. I say be a man, stand up for yourself. They're important to you.
Don't let them yuck your yum.
Big time.
But if they do say something like video games are a good investment for the future monetarily, don't believe that. Video games are not a good... Reselling video games, you don't make money.
No, big time. Which is why, now's the time to, start your collection. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. If you're a retail seller, liquidate for sure. If you're a buyer, start your collection because it's meaningless.
Buy high, sell low.
Yeah. It's meaningless junk that you can't get money for, but it has meaning to us. So here we go.
We'll buy it from you. You can take that money and go have experiences. People love those things. They stay with you for a lifetime. Even though you can't take those with you either. So.
Yeah, and also I'd make the argument that taking a trip to the Caymans doesn't stay with you forever. It lasts for 2 weeks. It stays with you for 2 weeks and maybe a week or so afterwards. Then it's a memory. And you can't put a memory into an NES and play it for a couple of hours.
Unless it's a memory card.
And you'd have to have some sort of hacked system that would take one.
Yeah. So.
Well, all right. So there's that.
There's that. Who wants to talk about styrofoam? I do.
All right, I like what you're doing. Get me up to speed.
So NES games, complete in the box, they made them shaped like a VHS, basically, back in the day. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a rectangle-shaped piece of plastic. Looks like a giant cassette tape. And if you don't know what that is, I don't know how to explain something to you if you don't know what it is.
What does VHS stand for?
Video Hardcore System.
I knew you couldn't do it.
Right. Where was I? NES games. NES games were made to... They're weird because they're a certain shape, but then the box is a little bit longer, which is, I don't know why. Well, I just explained why. I guess I do know why. So there's a spacer in there that's a piece of styrofoam that oftentimes is not included with the game. So sometimes you have these games complete in box, but they're rattling around because they don't have that little spacer in there. So recently, I make product videos for what you might call a real job to make income, to chase. And somebody sent me something, and it was packed with some styrofoam. And I looked at this piece of styrofoam, and I said, "Hey, this looks just about the right width that might fit inside an NES game." So I did some finagling. I cut a little piece out, and sure enough, it was a pretty close fit. So what I've been doing is filling out some of my empty NES boxes that don't have that little styrofoam bit in it with these, I guess we'll call them Repro pieces, which I'd be labeling them with. I'd be labeling them as Repro because I'm not trying to pass it off as something fake, but I just want to have that little extra level of completeness to these NES boxes. And until I get, my upgrades, or I get, some, random, somebody selling random pieces of the styrofoam, a little bit harder to come by, but, they're out there. But until then, I'm going to have this. So I know this is a little, niche of a thing to do, but, the completist inside me says, well, let me hobble together these things so we can have, a semblance of a complete package. Son of Chaser, what are your thoughts on that?
I have some questions. The first question is VHS stands for Video Home System. It's not really a question. The second question is when you were cutting the styrofoam, how close? I assume it's like one long horizontal strip. Am I correct there?
It's a long piece. I mean, I could get it and show it to you since we're on Skype, but that's not going to help the viewer.
I just need okay. Okay. So all right. So it's a big rectangular piece. I'm saying it looks like it's about 2 feet by 2 feet by 8 inches.
This is smaller. It was longer. It looks like a wood plank, but it's styrofoam.
Oh, okay. So then my question there was like, how much cutting did you have to do? So you had to do a little, you had to do a little bit. So That's what I was wondering. Like thickness, like how close is it to the actual thing?
Pretty close. I mean, within within a half an inch. Within eighths of an inch.
Within a micron.
Yeah. A few, probably a bunch, a lot of microns.
Okay.
So the only cut I did was I had just to cut a little piece out of it.
What'd you use to cut it?
Just my Swiss Army knife, which was not the best. It's kind of tough to cut styrofoam. I've come to find out.
Now, my next
so
question was, how big of a mess did it make?
No, not the biggest mess. I've made bigger messes on things. However, I need to get some sort of, either if I could heat the knife so it can slice through it like butter and sort of cauterize the piece, or I know that there's, I'm not going to buy something that's going to be, to do this, but so throw that out the window. But I think a hot metal implement is the answer.
So if you heat up your Swiss Army knife, I'm just thinking to myself that if the police raided your home, there's no way they'd see that and be like, well, this is for drugs.
If they walk in and they see me heating a knife with a lighter? I think it's more of a spoon. I think the spoon is the drug thing. If you're heating a knife, that's fine. I think they'll be all right.
To me, that crimes. He's so desperate for that black tar horse that he's got to use a Swiss Army knife. It's all he's got lying around.
No spoons?
I don't know.
So yeah,
the goal with these things is just to fill in the bottoms. How are you etching Repro on that? Are you just writing in permanent marker?
Just a black marker, Sharpie.
Gotcha.
So it just adds another level of completeness to the games. And then again, it's like I have the box, I have everything, and then I have, for incomplete boxes, I take a Post-it note and I write down what's inside the box, whether it has the manual, or if it needs a manual, or if it needs the styrofoam. And now I'm writing reproduction styrofoam on this Post-it that's going either on the outside of the retro protection case, or on the inside but turned backwards so it's not stuck to the box. It's a level of what's OCD you might call.
It's definitely a level of it's one of those things where I'd be sitting here doing it and asking myself, like, what is my life right now?
Sure. I sort of skip past that part.
I've made peace with what my life is. I'm gonna write Repro on this piece of cardboard that I found and cut up. See, now here's the next question. In order to have a steady supply, what did you get that had this piece of styrofoam in it?
Oh, it's just this. It's a giant island bar, like an outside, like aluminum, like wicker bar thing. It came in a huge box.
Okay, it was just packing styrofoam for a thing.
Just packing, yeah. So it just happened that old Chaser's brain clicked and said, "This looks like I could use this." That's definitely that hoarder blood inside of me saying, "I could use this someday," and that someday was the same day. And if hoarders were like that, then they wouldn't really either be hoarders or they would be justified in their hoarding.
Yeah,
but
they would call them crafters and not hoarders.
Right. Alas, that is not the case. Collecting video games is not hoarding. Collecting National Geographics that have water damage and sticking them in a corner somewhere in no order is hoarding.
Pretty much. Stick them next to those newspapers. You need to know what was happening in the news.
You guys remember those things?
Look, unless you're putting that stuff on microfiche, you don't need to be collecting it.
What's microfiche, Grandpa?
Well, it's a thing that they use at libraries. They still very much exist. It's what they. Well, I guess. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a microfiche library, but okay. Microfiche is this. It's basically like an overhead projector thing, but like you look into it like a virtual boy. And they just use it to archive. They use it to archive newspapers. Newspapers is Wikipedia. Newspapers is Twitter on paper.
I like this idea of having to describe something to somebody who might not know what it is.
Newspapers is NPR, but printed on paper.
It even has some of the letters. Newspaper, NPR.
There you go.
Just remember that. It's a mnemonic device.
I had to buy a newspaper the other day because I needed it to
hit the dog?
To start. No, not. I don't hit the dog. I needed to start the grill. And I was like, I just spent $15 on newspaper. I bought like 2 of them. I think they're like $5. It was just a lot of money for a newspaper.
Excuse me, $5 for a newspaper?
Yeah, Grandpa. I know they only used to cost a quarter.
What? That's ridiculous. I'm not paying that.
A quarter, if you don't know, is 1 quarter. It's slang for a quarter of a dollar.
You don't have any paper laying around in the house? You had to go buy paper?
Not anything that I could burn up.
Did you read the newspaper? Or did you just crumple it up in a ball and set it on fire?
No, I didn't even read it. The thing
Son of a monkey.
The thing is, I just go up to Walgreens and they usually have a pile of, hey, take this, it's free, which is why I went up there. But then there was stuff going on. I couldn't come back empty-handed, so I had to buy it.
Surely they had those magazines full of coupons or some such.
Right, that's what I went up there to grab. They usually have them, and I usually just grab the whole stack so it lasts me for a while. But I ran out of my stack, so.
Red Chaser.
Yeah, what else we got? I know you got a list there.
Let's see here. How much is enough?
Yeah, that's an interesting question and an interesting title for the second half of the podcast. So,
I mean, look, we'll start it with the classic, Simpsons quote, and it goes something like this: "I'd trade it all for a little bit more."
Oh yeah.
I like that idea.
It's a good question, and so I do feel sometimes that you'll get to a point when you're chasing stuff down that you've gotten the stuff in your hands now and you have it, and now that the thrill of the chase has gone away, and then you gotta
keep chasing.
Oh well, yeah, you do gotta keep chasing, but if the thing that you're chasing has been chased down, you gotta chase down something else.
Well, look, it's a mixture of chasing and replacing, because like you said with the comic books, you chased them, you consumed them, and now you're gonna replace them.
This is true. I've even at this point. This is the problem. You end up sometimes in this state where you're like, what am I even doing? What are we doing here? It's gotten me before. Yeah. The last time that I had a big feeling of what am I doing here is
right. You did something silly.
Look, I'd love to go back and undo. I'd like to go back and undo that decision. But this has actually happened to me before a couple of times in my life. I pawned my N64.
Oh my God. What's worse, taking it to a pawn shop or a GameStop?
Probably the pawn shop is worse if you're pawning it in for no takesies backsies, because that's the end of it. You get your money or whatever. I guess if you go to GameStop, they're not really paying out either. Although GameStop as a trade-in institution wasn't really a thing at that point. So I don't know, but that was a thing where it's like, okay, well now I would love to have that thing lying around, but this is the other thing. This was part of the I got to replace it, because at this point I hadn't been playing anything. I needed the money for something. We're well into the GameCube era at this point, and I'm at this stage of my life right out of high school, so I'm living with two other people in an apartment. Working a job, and you take whatever you can to chase down the stuff that you want in the moment.
Sure.
You don't have the foresight to be like, well, if I get rid of this stuff now, it could be worth something down the line, either monetarily or to me, to the collection. And I remember doing that, and that's like, and I unloaded a good set of games there. I had an Atomic Purple Nintendo 64.
Ah, nice.
I had Ocarina of Time. I think I had the gold one. I had a gold Ocarina of Time. I had Conker's Bad Fur Day. I had Mario 64. I probably had Mario Kart 64. I had a good little core of games. So I had to have gotten at least a reasonable amount of money to justify that trade or whatever.
Yeah.
I would go back and not do that. But most recently, and by most recently I mean this is about 10 years ago, I'm sitting on a pile of just like, I've got all this stuff, and it's like, this stuff is just sitting here, collecting dust. It didn't occur to me to, I was also very much in a phase where it's like, what makes houses look nice? When you can't see any of the stuff that's in the house. So my thing was all about like storing stuff away where you can't see it, where it's not on display.
Yeah.
And I think even to that point, now there's a balance where it's like, okay, you need parts of the house that are like that, and you need parts of the house where you do display stuff, and that sort of happened naturally. Moving in here, getting a wife and getting kids. You really learn that that the house is a common space, and then you have your own little area cut out in the thing, instead of having a whole giant display case for all of your stuff or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like it do be like that once you get
domesticated.
You add more people to the stack. And unfortunately in Florida we don't have basements, so I mean that would be nice, because people have they just dedicate their whole basement to whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, but I was just sitting there, and it's like, I'm never gonna play these games again. Although now sometimes I think about, like, I would like to take. Sometimes it takes you 10 years to get around to a game.
Yeah.
You go back and you go like, I would like to take a crack at playing that game again. And so I ended up getting rid of my Wii, most of the games that I had, and my Wii U. I got rid of all of that stuff. Which the
son of a monkey. The
sort of good thing with the Wii U is that all the best stuff on the Wii U has been re-released on the Switch. Like, as soon as they re-released the HD Wind Waker, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the last one. There's literally no reason to own a Wii U unless you already have it and have all the stuff from it or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, I was given a Wii U. No, a Wii. An old girlfriend gave me a Wii for my birthday, and then she took it back when that ended, and I was a little. I don't know what I was, but that's not how birthday gifts work, right?
no, it's not. Now, was that a unilateral decision, or was that a compromise made in order to expedite the breakup process?
No, that was I'm taking this. Okay, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's not cool.
No. I need that Wii.
Yeah, can't won't get into specifics there, but that wasn't the right choice. You can't take back gifts that you give people.
It basically has the word give to it in its name. Gift. I give this to you. Meaning it's not mine.
Yeah.
It's mine.
So yeah, I did.
Anyway, I need a Wii.
I got rid of a bunch of stuff to. I used that money to buy the Switch. So that was the thing that sort of happened, because I was like, all right, we got all this stuff is out, and now it's Switch time. It's Breath of the Wild time. It's Super Smash Brothers time. And so the long and short of it is, money does go in and money does go out. Quick sidebar, because I still want to stay on the same topic. But when we were talking about Switch 2, what I did think would be a cool thing is if it had a feature where it didn't have to be in the dock in order to play it on the TV, so that it could have functionality for DS games on, in the virtual store.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
So you're saying you could play DS games, but on the thing when it's not docked? Is that what you're saying?
Right. So what it would do is, like, hey, you're gonna play a DS game or whatever now.
Oh, for two screens. So the TV would be the main screen.
Right. So it'd be like, okay, casting to the dock. Remove your Switch 2 from the dock. And now you've got the TV. You've got one thing going on the TV, and you've got another thing going on the screen of the Switch. Because that like the Switch has a touch screen on it, and I always kind of wondered, like, what, does it need a touch screen? You can't really use it. You can't really use it when it's in the dock. So it has a touch screen on it, but like, why?
That's a good thing. So like the Wii U, like in a Mario Party, for sure. You play it on the TV, but you leave the screen up, and you could see Bowser doing whatever. You interact with the screen. So that's plausible. Right,
and it's if you decided to design a game for novelty with two screens, because this is the thing, like, we're crossing the Rubicon in terms of graphical performance. So if you've got a game where you're like, okay, part of the lure of this game is that it's beefy and it's gonna be running and it's gonna look really good. Okay, we're not gonna design that to have the dual screen functionality or whatever. We're gonna design it as a standalone game. The thing is meant to either be played out of the dock or played in the dock. But if you have another game where it's like, okay, this game is stylized and it doesn't matter if it's running at 4K or whatever,
Yeah.
boom, you cast it. It's running on the TV at like 1080 or 720 or whatever. And then you've got the other
720.
Yeah, right. But it's, you could sacrifice picture quality. I mean, unless they develop it to where it doesn't have to sacrifice picture quality, but if it's not directly connected into, there's going to be a sacrifice of picture quality.
Yeah.
But doing that and being like, okay, well, I have this. Maybe they want to do another cartoony Zelda game like how Echoes of Wisdom is. Then they can design that with dual screen functionality and bing bang boom.
It's an excellent idea. I say you go to the Nintendo forums and post that. See if they take note.
Again,
See
this all presupposes any sort of desire to cash in on dual screen functionality. They've got a whole host of games. All they gotta do is throw the best ones on there because people are gonna buy. People are they're going like, okay, Phantom Hourglass or whatever. The Zelda games that came out on DS, like people will want that.
But yeah, people are going to buy the same game over and over and over. They're going to do it, and they're going to complain about it the entire way, but they're still going to do it.
That's right.
And
baby.
that's it.
So
do I fuss about it? No.
Yeah.
Do I see? Okay, you just. I don't know. I like the old game. I'm Joe Schmo that they're cashing in on because it's like, well, these games have been around for 30 years and those kids are now grown up, so let's re-release them and now they have adult money and they're going to buy them. And the answer is yes.
I've bought Resident Evil on every single Resident Evil 4 on every single platform it's ever come out on. I bought it on GameCube. I bought it on Wii. I bought it when the HD remake came out after that. System after system, and I bought the most recent one on PS5, and oh man, it looks good, and it's great. I love that game. I was happy to spend the money every single time on that game, and I don't know why Resident Evil 4. I mean, it's a verifiably metrically proven good game. It got Game of the Year for Nintendo Power, and also when they did their all-time best games list, it got number one again for the GameCube. That's a second-party game. That's how good that game is.
Okay, I haven't played it.
Ooh. Buddy, well, if you're building up your GameCube collection, you want to get Resident Evil 4. You also want to get the Resident Evil, the first one. They overhauled that to the max for the GameCube, and it's very good. It's the way that game was meant to be played. In terms of like how it was the first time they released it on the PlayStation, like. They had the idea, and then they're like, okay, let's overhaul this thing, and they knocked it out of the park. That's an essential GameCube game.
Okay, I'll have to stick it on the list. I've been trying to get some GameCube games. Well, I've been thinking about it. I don't want to go on another side quest getting GameCube games because we already have the main focus and then the secondary focus. But I mean, I guess a side quest is a side quest,
Hey, look, make it a reasonable side quest. Get a new GameCube game once a month.
That sounds reasonable.
The important thing is we did go down a hole, but I want to go back to your original question: how much is enough? And the question is, you got to recycle stuff to get more stuff. So eventually, what is enough changes. And so you got your list of stuff that you want. You get all the stuff on the list, and then now what? And so then a new list occurs. I feel like my list of like what I want keeps getting refined and refined and refined. And honestly, it's more like everything to me keeps narrowing down to the Nintendo stuff that I want.
Yeah.
And with
Okay.
with the magazines, this is fun, and it's going to last me at least a year trying to track these things down. And I got the next thing lined up for it with the with the players guides. We'll have a nice little library of stuff.
Well, you got half of your main quest done now with this recent order, so you're up 51.
Yeah, and there's
First month.
There's another
11 months left.
There's another lot of 60 that I'm looking at right now, and I might do that, and then the next arc of my progress is going to be selling stuff.
Okay.
Because that there's a good chance that that's gonna end up being another $300, but then I'm gonna have a really solid chunk of the stuff that I need out of the way. And then I'll have stuff to resell as well as the comic books and such, and then that's gonna be a wrap on buying things for a while.
Yeah.
So that's the progress. But yeah, how much is enough for you? Because I feel like you're going through the same thing right now. You're trying to you're getting rid of other stuff to make room for and buy new stuff.
Well, sure. Look, I mean, I always say that I like stuff, but I don't like clutter. So, as such, over the years, I've always had some manner of storage space, either on-site or off-site. So, for me, I like to think of myself as a curator of, whatever. And if, whatever I'm into, I'll have, out and about on display. But whatever I don't have is going to be, stored away out of sight, like you were saying. So, classic, historically and categorically, space issue for people is definitely a problem. If you're in an apartment like I am, sometimes space issues are a thing. You do need to utilize the upward space as such, and then, shelving units can, they can get pricey too. I mean, but they can also be cheap. So just depending on, again, budget constraints. How organized are you? I've seen really disorganized collections where it's just, all over the place. Not organized, not any, just not in any sort of order. Just, here's a pile of garbage I got. So, I like a bit of stuff. It's weird because once you start getting so much stuff, I've seen huge collections. It's like, well, how is this different from walking into the game store? And something like a huge collection of, say, like, I don't know, PS2 games. I think there's like 1,300 games. They're not all bangers.
No.
So you're collecting all this just so you can have all of them. It's like, yeah, but there's a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
So do I want to collect garbage? That's hard to say too, because if I want to get every NES game, there's a lot of garbage there too. But I don't know. There's what do you say? Well, this is the kind of garbage I want. Although we say that all the time when we go to a flea market or a thrift shop, and we just, the phrase is, it's just junk. There's a lot of stuff here. It's just junk, though. It's not my kind of junk. So, I don't know. If I had enough space, I'd take it all. I used to say, every stuff comes in, but nothing goes out. But that's another thing. That's, again, stuff can go out, because if you're buying big lots of stuff, cherry pick what you want, and with the idea of this, the rest is going to go out. If you're trying to get it out in a timely fashion, that could be a problem too, because sometimes the stuff lists and it doesn't sell. You're going to be sitting on it. So again, you're going to need the space, unless your house is going to start filling up. Like the apartment right now is a little messy because I have things I need to make product videos for. I have, an excess of stuff that needs to be, sort of put in the storage space. So it's tough when you're trying to make content all week and, do work stuff. And then on the weekend, I'm gone for 3 days a week, basically, working at the regular job until I'm not. The house and I'm the only one who lives here, so the cat doesn't clean up The cat knows how to make a mess, but he doesn't know how to clean up. So that's a problem.
All right. Well, it's bottom line time.
The bottom line is, get enough stuff that it's right for you. If you have friends who come through and look at your stuff and say, "Man, what is this?" Which is probably a lot of times, a reaction unless you're hanging out with unless you're friends with other nerds.
Yeah, it is always fun to have a new person, wander into your lair and yes, see that
Change their opinion about you.
That mystified look on their face when they're like, "Oh, it's like a toy store with all of my favorite things."
I was thinking it swings in the other way. It's like, you meet somebody, you're having a great casual conversation. Okay, this guy seems like a nice, well-rounded fella. And then you go into the room and they're like, "Oh, no.
Hi, Supersonico Pillow."
Unused.
My bottom line, I think, is don't look. I follow Marie Kondo rules, man. If it sparks joy, boom. That's a good enough reason to clean it, or a good enough reason to keep it. And if it doesn't, then it's time to get rid of it. The other rule I also follow is if it gets poop on it, would you clean the poop off of it or would you throw it away?
Yeah.
But the Marie Kondo thing is more elegant, I think.
Sure. Now, that N64 didn't spark joy in you, and you got rid of it.
Yeah.
And now you're kicking yourself in the posterior for that.
Yeah. But look, I wasn't thinking about 20 years in the future when that happened.
Well, right, and you certainly weren't thinking about it as an investment because you can't make money reselling video games, and that's real. That's the real bottom line.
Yeah. Well, 20 years ago you could, and I did, and I used it to buy other stuff. But if I tried to do that today, it just wouldn't work.
No. So if you have stuff you don't want, just send it our way. Email coming soon.
Right now you could email theradchaser@gmail.com. We'll get that radchaser.com and then email us at there eventually. But okay, that's it. Good bottom line there, and it's
a power bottom line.
I'm the son of Rad Chaser, and Chaser. Until next time.
And until next time, my beautiful chasers, please, please, please never forget, keep chasing them. Rad Chaser is almost out of here, and now he's out of here.
You either have to shorten that pause or you gotta do the pause at the end, but you can't do he's almost out of here and the pause. You gotta pick one or the other.
Sure, I forgot that there was another tag after I say keep chasing them, so I thought you were gonna play the music. Until then, my beautiful chasers, that's gonna do it for now, and I already messed it up. That's going to do it for now, my beautiful chasers. Until then, please, please, please never forget, keep chasing them. This is the Rad Chaser. He's almost out of here, and now he's out of here.
Rat Chaser.